Hi and welcome to the Geek Legion of Doom. This is a B-movie review, and I'll be having a look at the movie Merlin and the War of the Dragons, also known as Merlin, War of the Dragon Emperor. So this is made in 2008 and is shot in Wales. So this is an asylum title. Now obviously asylum titles are synonymous with kind of low budget mockbusters mostly. And I wonder if this one was actually made to sort of parody or kind of take advantage of the Merlin TV show, but it kind of has a sort of a similar type of premise than that. So this actually is it's almost it's a prequel to the King Arthur legend, and it sets as Merlin as a young boy around 20. We actually see like a prologue initially of his parents sort of giving birth and sort of wanting to destroy him because they think he was sort of spawned by the devil or what have you, and he's raised by this. He's sort of rescued and raised by this mage called the Mage, and brought up in a kind of school of magic where he has a kind of an adopted brother almost who is also another sort of mage in training. So they're around 20 basically, and this other guy, this other sort of young mage is kind of jealous of Merlin because he feels like he's sort of getting more attention almost, and he kind of often does his own thing and ultimately becomes the antagonist of this film. And there's this the kind of the head mage, this kind of guy who rescued him. I forget the actor's name, Jürgen Prochnow or something like that. He's probably the only actor you're going to recognise in this film. He has kind of this book of magic that is all powerful or what have you, and ultimately these two wizards, Merlin and this other guy, are ultimately sort of want the power of that. Obviously Merlin for good and the other guy for evil. So this other sort of like this young evil mage, still in his 20s, manages to sort of find a dragon egg and finds a way of turning these sort of just local villages into basically other dragons, and they'll essentially do his bidding. There he sort of teams up with an invading force of Saxons to try and destroy the sort of the current sort of rulers of Britain, or this portion of Britain. Now in the meantime, Merlin is basically sort of trying to sort of find out a way to sort of try and stop him, because he ends up killing this sort of the sort of like the senior mage, this evil guy, and he sort of visits like the Lady of the Lake who has a sister also, and they sort of tell him about Excalibur is the way that this sword can kill dragons, and when it's sheathed basically in the scabbard it can protect from harm and whatnot. And ultimately he sort of joins King Uther. Well, he's not a king here, just Uther, and he's like this kind of like the leader of almost the kind of the rightful Britons almost, and has a confrontation between the two of them. So he ends up in the end, Merlin manages to find the same spell that transforms a lot of Uther's men into dragons themselves, hence all the dragons. So a couple of things on the positive side about this film. I'd say the story is actually reasonably good, I've got to say. I think it's probably fairly well scripted, and there's actually quite a lot of decent ideas here. Another thing I would say about this film, it's all shot on location as well, as I mentioned earlier, and that really does add this kind of great locations, and some of the sort of cinematography is very, very good for a sort of low budget film. Now for the bad parts, a few things I would say about this film. This film is it was quite a long film, and I felt it dragged quite a lot. There was quite a lot of meandering and sort of just scenes that were far too long. It felt like it was really dragging in places, and it could have been a lot more concise and ultimately a lot more sort of exciting. Now the budget is a low. I don't know what the actual budget is. I wasn't able to find it out for this review, but I got the impression it's a particularly low budget film. So the CGI, all the dragons are CGI, and they do look like CGI dragons, especially when they're transforming in from humans to dragons and vice versa. Now when they're in the sky, sort of in the distance, they don't look too bad when they're sort of flying around, but when you get close up, they're pretty obviously CGI. Now I would say for the budget, the CGI I would class probably adequate, because obviously they're not going to be able to afford amazing sort of blockbuster special effects. So I would class the CGI as adequate. But if you're, if you don't like the sort of cheaper looking CGI, you're probably not going to want to have a look at this. The other thing is the acting is laughably bad. I'll be honest. I mean, I don't know if these people are professional actors, but it's so stiff and so stilted. It almost looks like a sort of amateur. I don't know, like a school production. The way they're acting, it's you kind of get used to it because everyone's pretty much, apart from the guy who plays the Mage, who's I think the only professional actor in this. Everyone else is so stilted and so overacting and that you kind of almost get used to it. It's kind of so uniform. Now, before I did this review, I actually had a look online to see what the general feeling was, and a lot of people thought it was a fairly decent film, and I don't really know how they can qualify that, to be honest with you, because yeah, okay, for the budget, I suppose they've done what they can, and I suppose the idea isn't too bad. But if you're watching it for a film, I don't think it's all that fantastic. I mean, a lot of people are saying that all the ridings and the horseback stuff's all very good, and I suppose it is. But I'm not going to say it's a great film because of that. It was, I have to be honest, a below average fantasy film. I wouldn't say it's certainly the worst fantasy film I'll say. I wouldn't go that far, but I've seen a lot more interesting ones than this. I've got to be honest with you. I think I can forgive maybe the CGI because I understand the budget restrictions, and the acting could have been better. But I think it needed to be shorter. This film, it was just far too long, and probably the acting and the way it was delivered wasn't good enough. And if they had made it a little bit conciser, it may have sort of disguised that a little bit more, I think. So I'm going to have to give this film a 3.5 out of 10. Have you seen it? Let me know what you think, and I look forward to seeing you next time. See you later.